What's up, guys? So today I'm looking at the super full moon, which is also known as a chromoon, and we're gonna dive into all of that stuff. The link for timeanddate.com, which is the site that I use for all of this, is down below, and I will have a bit of a tangent. I might go on that first, just so we can get it out of the way. Now this came up while I was in Camp C for the last couple of days, and I was talking to my friends and had mentioned that Ostara was coming up, and they were very quick to point out that that was Northern Hemisphere and that we were coming up to Mabon in the Southern Hemisphere. If I'm confusing you with terms, don't worry, I will be making a Mabon video when it comes around Northern Hemisphere time. But why am I using Northern Hemisphere times and dates for these things when I myself live in the Southern Hemisphere? And the answer is quite simple. I'm going to give a visual aid for this, so let me find it. Cool. So let's start with me in Australia. The equator is here. You cannot really see it. It's a blue line on blue oceans, so we've got a lot of glare coming from the tablet, but this is the best we can do. So the equator is here, and it cuts through these two islands, pink ones just here, part of Indonesia. And then if we continue around the way the Earth would turn, we come through the bottom part of Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, top part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, through Congo, and then through Gabon. We continue across through the top part of Brazil, bottom part of Colombia, and then through Ecuador, meaning that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries from here. We've got, if we include Democratic Republic of Congo, because it's mainly below, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 11 out of all of the ones in Africa, and then we've got most of Indonesia, Australia, and New Zealand, as well as most of the Polynesian. You can see there's all the words, most of the Polynesian islands like Fiji and Vanuatu and those types. Now what does this all mean? It means that the population of the Northern Hemisphere, which is quite vast, is actually 90% of the human population. So when making these videos, and therefore sort of celebrating those at that same time, I'm going to be using the Northern Hemisphere ones. Also, most of the like history and stuff behind them, I am bringing up from Celtic mythology. My family is from, at least my dad's side of the family is from Ireland or Scotland. I believe my great-grandmother herself was Irish on my mother's side. So I'm also going back into my own personal family history, and I'm celebrating those festivals and those holidays on that wheel of the year accordingly to how like my ancestors would, and how 90% of the human population would. So that's why I'm using Northern Hemisphere times, and that's why later this month we will get an Ostara video, not a Mabon video. It's also why we had Imbolc earlier this year instead of 50% of Imbolc. be Lammas. We'll find out when it comes around to that. It'll be the video talking about the Wheel of the Year before I do a Mabon one. And I will start making playlists and stuff so you can just watch all of them. Anyway, getting into this. So the name of the full moon that is going to be, if you're in Australia, the time that it gives for the full moon at 100% is 4:47 a.m. tomorrow morning. But the moonrise, and I did just look this up, the moonrise will be at about 7 tonight, Sydney time. So we're still in daylight savings. If you're in Queensland, you may need to sort of adjust that. I'm not going to try to, because I honestly hate daylight savings with a passion, and the second that I have an opportunity to move back to Queensland to never have to deal with it again, I will. But yeah, so it's, those are the times if you want to watch it. Obviously, moonrise is going to be a lot better, particularly if you're on the coast. As it rises, you'll get that nice reflection across the water surface, which is always really good to, really nice to photograph if you've got the right equipment. An iPhone camera, unfortunately, does not cut it. I know, I've tried. This is also going to get into some technical terms as well when it comes to the full moon and the moon's orbit and stuff. We are getting into that because that is very relevant to a supermoon. But I will first quickly address the names. So we've got the March's full moon has a bunch of different names. There's the worm moon, there's the Lenten moon, there's the chest moon, the crust moon, the crow moon, the sap moon, and the sugar moon. And I'm going to tell you all about these 7 names and why they fit. Now again, Northern Hemisphere here, okay? So in March, later in March is the spring equinox, which usually sort of indicates sort of the official beginning of spring. If you don't know what an equinox is, it's when the night and the day are of equal lengths as the Earth sort of tilts itself back the other way. I will also make a video about the Earth's tilt, because it's actually not wobbling around in space like we are told in school. It's just not. It's not how it works. But the worm moon refers to the earthworms that, as the snow is melting, will rise to the surface because the soil is now richer and full of more nutrients. So they'll rise to the surface. That obviously then attracts birds, which will eat the worms. So the crow moon references the returning of birds, particularly crows, which would caw and sort of signal the end of winter with their cawing. The Lenten moon, the word Lenten is derived from Germanic languages, and it means spring. So it's basically just the spring moon, sort of thinking of it like that. It's sort of the moon letting you know that spring is coming, sort of thing. And Lent obviously also is the name of the period before Easter, which is we'll address Easter closer to Easter time. The crust moon refers to the sort of crust that forms on the top of the snow as it melts and refreezes. So it sort of melts during the day, refreezes at night because it's cold again, and you get this like crust on top of the snow as it melts. The chast moon refers to the purity of spring season, and the sap moon and the sugar moon both refer to the time of harvesting maple syrup from maple tree sap. So yeah, all the names really are just indicating that this is the last moon before spring. And even though we sort of class March as being, in the southern hemisphere it's classed as being an autumn month, and in the northern hemisphere as being spring, it's still sort of that transitionary period between the colder months or the hotter months in southern hemisphere and sort of either cooling down or warming up throughout the next season. Now, the orbit of the moon is obviously coming into play here as well, as I said, for supermoon. When it's at its closest, it's called perigee, and that signifies a supermoon, which is what tonight is. And when it's furthest away, it's at its point of apogee, which indicates a micromoon. And if you've ever gone onto the special features on the first Incredibles DVD, you'll know it's also the name of a superhero in that universe, who does also likewise derive her powers from the moon. She's kind of an interesting character. But yeah, so perigee is supermoon, micromoon is apogee, and the difference between the two is that compared to a micromoon, the supermoon is 14% bigger. Other places say that it's 16% bigger, so it's between sort of 14 and 16% larger when you're looking at it, which might not seem like much, but you can actually tell the difference. It does look quite a bit bigger. It's also about 30% brighter than a micromoon, which makes sense. The reflective surface of the moon is a lot closer to us, so we're getting a lot more of that light. It hasn't quite dispersed as much as it would from a micromoon being further away, allowing it to sort of disperse a little bit more, sort of fade a little bit more. So our perception of it is that it's brighter. Now, a supermoon is not an official astronomical term. It was coined by an astrologer, Richard Knoll, in 1979, and he sort of defined it as being within 90% of its closest approach to Earth in its orbit. It's not clear why he chose 90% in his definition. My thinking, though, is that he sort of looked at it as a circle being equal to 100%, and he took the 10% where the supermoon was right in the middle, so 5% either side, and defined that whenever the full moon or the new moon is within that, it's a super new moon or a super full moon. And then likewise could also therefore be inferred from that for a micromoon on the other end of that scale. The complete definition, therefore, since it's not actually an official term, is unclear. Some sources will say that it's got to be at a particular, within a particular distance range. Others say it's got to be like a particular size or whatever. So one definition does not necessarily mean the other definition. One might be more specific. So say it's got to be, say someone says it's got to be within this range, someone else says it's got to be within this range, which is just a more refined definition than the other. So there's no official one, but Time and Date gives theirs, their own definitions, being that a supermoon has the center of the moon has got to be less than 360,000 kilometers from the center of the Earth. What are the distances before? On average, the distance, I believe that this is also center of the moon to the center of the Earth, is about 382,900 kilometers, which equals 238,000 miles if you're still using that imperial system. So supermoon on the imperial system is less than 223,694 miles from the center of the Earth. Super full moons, so super full moons, angular size, it gives definitions here as being 12.5 to 14.1% bigger. As I said, others give it as being 16. I'm pretty sure it's further down here. So a supermoon also looks about 30% brighter than a micromoon, and it's 16% brighter than an average full moon. So it's anywhere between sort of that 12.5 to 16% range, bigger than a micromoon. Now, another term, I don't know if this is coming into effect, but another, it does give this on here, so I'll read it. It's a very short section. The technical term for a supermoon is perigee syzygy on the Earth, Moon, Sun system. In astronomy, the term syzygy refers to the straight line configuration of the three celestial bodies, being the Sun, the Earth, and the Moon. When the Moon is close to its lunar nodes, because it also sort of has a sort of diagonal, if you want to look at the world, it has sort of like a diagonal orbit around us. So when it's close to its lunar nodes, being its either further northern hemisphere or further southern hemisphere, so when it's close to those nodes, it will result in a total solar eclipse or total lunar eclipse. Actually, its nodes might be its point of apogee and perigee. Reading that like that would make more sense. But if it's between the Sun and the Earth, that's a solar eclipse, obviously. If the Earth is between the Sun and the Moon in a perfectly straight line, that's where you get the total lunar eclipse. And then the last bits here. So the best time to enjoy a super full moon, or any other full moons for that matter, is just after moonrise, when the moon is close to the horizon, and just before moonset is also a good time. But as I've already established, moonset for this particular moon is going to be after sunrise, so you won't get the nice pictures of sort of the night sky with that really cool reflection on the surface of the waves and stuff if you're close to the coast or just a large body of water. So I would still recommend going out if you want to watch it. 7:22 is moonrise. When the moon is low, it looks bigger and brighter than when it's higher up in the sky. So imagine cartoons where the moon looks massive, just rising up over the horizon. Basically what it's going to be, and because it's a supermoon, it's going to be larger than most other full moons as well. So it's going to appear to be really big tonight. So yeah, I will be going out to watch it. As I've already also established, my phone's photography will not be able to capture it properly, so it will unfortunately probably not be my little intro bit, although if I can manage it, I will make it my little intro bit, probably for my next video though. Yeah, so it looks bigger and brighter than when it's higher in the sky. That's called moon illusion, and actually makes more of a difference to what it looks like than the real boost you get from being closer to Earth. This website does have some tips on taking pictures of the moon if you want to read those as well. So you follow the link in the description and then just scroll down till you see the link for taking pictures of the moon. The greatest difference between high and low tide is around the full moon and new moon. During these moon phases, the gravitational forces of the moon and the sun combine to pull the ocean's water in the same direction, in or out. It does not tell me whether the full moon is a higher tide or a lower tide. So I cannot give you that particular information, but those tides are known as spring tides or king tides, and if you have watched every superhero film since the dawn of time and king tides sounds familiar, that's because it is the term that Ben Affleck's Batman uses when he's looking for Aquaman in Justice League. So supermoons lead to around 5 centimeters or 2 inches larger variation than regular spring tides, and they are therefore called perigean spring tides. The total range is smallest during the 2 quarter moons, which is when the moon looks like a perfect semicircle, and they are known as neaps or neap tides. And then as for natural disasters, obviously mainly here we're looking at earthquakes and tsunamis, because the sun and the moon's alignment does cause a small increase in tectonic activity, but however the effects of the supermoon on Earth are minor. Many scientists have conducted studies and haven't found anything significant that can link the supermoon to any natural disasters. So just because we get a very big full moon tonight does not necessarily mean we're going to have earthquakes and tsunamis all over the place. According to NASA, the combination of the moon being at its closest end at full moon should not affect the internal energy balance of the Earth, since there are lunar tides every day. And yeah, that's all I've got for this video. So if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell as well if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Again, the link to this website is down below. I will link both the super full moon page and the worm moon page, the chrome moon page, so that you can go and look at both of those, because I do have them open in different tabs here. And yeah, until next time guys, keep your heads screwed on.